Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X at Movies TV Mad, on Instagram Movies TV Mad X, here on YouTube of course, Free Words Movies TV Mad, spread the word, and now on TikTok Mick Isn't Perfect, because guess what? Mick isn't perfect. Wow, wow, wow. Freaking hell, RTD. You are an absolute genius. I absolutely adored the Star Beast. Everything for me was perfect. Yeah, RTD got carried away a couple of times, but you just rise above it and just enjoy this episode because it was so good. Not only was it great to have RTD back, David Tennant, Catherine Tate, and Murray Gold's dulcet tones. He's back with his brilliant music, and it all worked. This episode had Russell T Davies written all over it. It was Russell T Davies who brought Doctor Who back. It was him who brought Moffat and Chibnall in and Gatiss in. The reason we've had Doctor Who, brand new Doctor Who, for almost 20 years is because of everything Russell T Davies has done. There's no question about it. Doctor Who hasn't been the same beast since RTD left. He don't write with his fingers, he writes with his heart, and it was there. In a lot of ways, this was a typical RTD Doctor Who episode. That, my friends, isn't a bad thing. It's that inspiring love he puts into his characterizations and events. Now, don't forget the Star Beast is an adaptation of a comic book story from a Doctor Who comic book a long time ago. Thankfully, I never actually read the Star Beast, so I didn't know what was going to happen, or that brilliant twist. And my God, it is an absolute brilliant twist I didn't see coming. But let's talk about the 14th Doctor. Let's talk about David Tennant's Doctor and what's going on here. It's clearly an identity crisis, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's actually Ncuti, but he's projected the 10th Doctor on himself, and that's why everyone can see him as the 10th Doctor, the 14th Doctor, and that's what he sees as well. But actually, he may actually already be Ncuti, or Ncuti could have already, there could be another version of him somewhere else. But there are huge shocks to come, and a big revelation in terms of why this old face has come back, and I can't wait to find out what it is, and I've got more than one theory about that. One of my fears with Catherine Tate returning as Donna Noble was that RTD would undo that tragic ending of her memories being wiped. And to no surprise to anybody, that's exactly what he did. But instead of hating it like I thought I would, at the end of the day, it was great and it worked. Because here's the thing. I believe Donna Noble is still going to meet her end. I believe Donna Noble has just got a temporary reprieve. I think she's still dying. And as a storyteller, as he does RTD, he's trying to lure us into a false sense of security. So I definitely think she's going to die. But for now, she's had a reprieve, but I think it's only a temporary one. You know, Tennant and Tate didn't drop a beat from Series 4 or The Runaway Bride. It amazes me how David just slips into this character just like that. He didn't really change it up because he's the 14th Doctor and not the 10th. Ultimately, he's still the Doctor. You wouldn't want to change it too dramatically because the reason he's back is because most people love him as this character. In fact, the only problem we're going to have to say goodbye to him yet again. And as I say, he slipped into this like Cinderella with her slipper. It was perfection from moment one. Now, let's talk about the new titles and, of course, the new TARDIS interior. I was fucking screaming geek screams of joy when I saw those new wonderful titles. They are perfect. They are movie. They are brilliant. They're outstanding. And what about that brand new TARDIS interior? Pure white. It's a vaster TARDIS. It's a bigger console area, and I fucking love it. And I love the fact that it was pretty obvious that Donna was going to spill the coffee there in the end. Bring on the Wild Blue Yonder, which we will be reviewing on this channel, both on my Instagram and on here. Probably same time, same back channel next week. But let's stick to the Star Beast. This was a really, really good story because it plays into that false sense of security that this is going to be a sweet E.T. story about someone who's got a bit of challenges to overcome in Rose, and she meets this lovely, friendly, cutesy alien. Of course, the big twist is that cutesy alien is actually the villain of the story. And what didn't Miriam Margoyle do a great job with the voice? Fucking brilliant. At first, when I heard it was her, I thought, really? Her? Why? But I forgot what a great artist she is. She's absolutely fantastic. And she was perfect for the role. Ruth Madeley as this new member of UNIT, also very, very good, very arrogant, very overconfident, very, oh, you're the Doctor, big deal, I'm not going to be overly impressed by you. So she was pretty cool. I loved seeing UNIT back as well. But from the first moment we get to see this Doctor, this familiar Doctor of David Tennant, he slips into it. It's beautiful. He's got that arrogant walk. I love Tennant's Doctor. And you forget, when I first heard he was coming back, I was thinking, oh, trust them, they're bringing David back again. Doctor Who's been in the doldrums, they need David Tennant. Of course they do. But they're not going through the motions. It is brilliant, and it works. And as soon as he's reunited with Donna again, boom, that chemistry between Tennant and Tate is like, it never, it's like they've been playing these roles for the past 15 years, even though they haven't. And it was absolutely fantastic. I love Donna's mum giving the Doctor a slap. That was also very brilliant and hilarious. But yeah, look, for me, it's clear that our 14th Doctor is having some kind of identity crisis, and that's going to be very interesting how they twist the knife there, because there is going to be reasoning why this Doctor has come back as well. So I'm very excited by that as well. But this episode just flowed. It was typical Russell T Davies, wasn't it? It was joyful, it was exciting, it was emotional, it was funny. RTD is the ultimate kind of all-round writer. He knows how to do emotion, seriousness. He's a very emotionally romantic writer. When I say romance, I don't mean in boy and girl, or boy and boy, or girl and girl being in love. It's that romance. It's that adventurous romance that we don't get in storytelling enough. And it's something that Moffat took away from Doctor Who, really. And Chibnall just didn't have any heart. Chibnall doesn't have any heart in his writing. That's why he's good at crime dramas, like Law and Order and Broadchurch, because there's not much emotion in that type of writing. And the characters are a little bit, in a way, depressing to watch. They lack emotion. And that's okay for that type of thing. But because we were so used to the RTD way, when you lose that romance, when you lose that emotion, it becomes a bit of a dull watch. But, this is what Doctor Who needed. We needed RTD back. The man is a genius, and he's the reason why Doctor Who's nearly been back for 20 years. And we need him here for as long as possible, but he needs to already be moulding his new replacement, someone who can run Doctor Who effectively and efficiently without the ego of Moffat or Chibnall, because I like a lot of the Moffat era. The problem with Moffat, he's a great writer, he's not a good showrunner. Producing is something I imagine that Stephen finds very, very boring and troublesome, and like the kid who's asked to get up at 8 in the morning on a Saturday to help his mum do the hoovering around the house. It wasn't something he really enjoyed doing. But in terms of Russell T Davies, he's got everything. He can write, he can produce, he knows what's going to bring the numbers in. He's very much aware that the show needs to be watched by people. It's something I think that Moffat and Chibnall didn't really think about. And I think especially Chibnall, he wouldn't have been doing and saying some of the things that he did. But Russell is a different beast. He's absolutely the perfect guy to come back. And he came back because he didn't want Doctor Who getting too far away. He didn't want someone to flush it down the toilet, and he also didn't want it cancelled. I think it being stopped after the Chibnall era was a realistic thing. I think if we remember to what Moffat told us when David Tennant left, when RTD stepped down as head writer and showrunner, the BBC were thinking no one's going to watch this without David Tennant. And credit, at the very least, to Moffat, he kept it going. And he did. He did a great job. Matt Smith's a great Doctor. Doctor Who was enjoyable, at the very least. But as I say, Russell T Davies is just very, very special. You know, for example, the after show, Doctor Who Unleashed. Again, these are all his ideas. He wants an after show. He wants potential spin-offs. He wants Doctor Who to be as big and as bold and everywhere and in everyone's face as much as possible. But he doesn't want overexposure, but he just loves Doctor Who, and the way he does it is utterly perfect. Now let's talk about Yasmin Finney as Rose, who is Donna's trans daughter. I think her performance was absolutely exquisite, brilliant, and the sensibilities in RTD's writing for this character were absolutely fantastic. You related to her, you empathized with her, you sympathized with her, and you understood the message that RTD was trying to spread. He said in Doctor Who Unleashed what he wants to do is, do this kind of representation so it's not a shock. It's not different. It's not something that you hate. It's something that you're used to seeing. And I think this is typical of RTD's genius. He's hit the nail on the head. The presenter of Unleashed saying you don't want to do representation for representation's sake. Clearly RTD got him to say that. And yes, this is what none of us like. None of us like false representation where they're just standing there but they're not given any characterizations. Why shouldn't, marginalized communities have the characterizations and the storylines that the white people have had for decades and decades? And, when they just stick people on the screen and say it's all about visibility. Visibility is important, but just having visibility isn't enough because that's just virtue signaling. But what they did with Yaz's character was absolutely fantastic. People complaining that the whole story is pushing this message. Maybe it is. It probably actually is. But is that such a bad thing? Think about it. Were they pushing the message of a nuclear holocaust and saying that's a good idea? Were they saying serial killers are good, right? Did they say shoplifting is good? No. They said this is a young woman who was originally trapped in another body. And imagine that. Oh no, I want you to think about this now, quite seriously, right? You're a kid and you realize that you shouldn't be a boy. You shouldn't be a boy. You're a girl, but you're trapped in a boy's body. I want you to think about that for a minute, right? And how damaging mentally that must be. It's a real thing, everyone. You may want to deny it. You may hate it. But this is the reality. And, the trans community ain't going anywhere, no matter how much some of you may not like them. You don't have to understand the trans community. You don't need to want to understand the trans community. You don't have to want to get educated if you don't want to. But they're there. And they're going to be represented going forward in loads of different businesses and in entertainment because they're human beings like me and you, and they deserve the same opportunities as everybody else. Not more opportunities. They need to earn the right like everybody else does. But I thought what RTD did with Yaz's character Rose was brilliant. It worked. And then you get to the ending where the meta crisis was passed on to her as well. And she kind of saves the day. Now, near the end there, Russell did get a bit carried away with the whole male-represented Time Lord kind of snark from Donna. But this is the entertainment industry, everyone. They're going to throw a couple of things at us we don't like. I didn't really like that because it was a bit of man-bashing, wasn't it? But at the end of the day, this is the entertainment industry. This is their rhetoric. This is their ideology. And because I really, really liked this episode, I rose above it. You don't have to like everything to like an episode. It was just wondrous. It was exciting. I shut the lights. It was loud. It was brash. It had great storytelling and sensibilities. For me, there was nothing, really that upset me or offended me. I just gauged great joy from this episode. It's RTD with all the bells and whistles. And I'm very excited for the future with Ncuti and Mills. I think it's going to be great. I really do. And I'm so excited for the whole thing. RTD is just a very special storyteller. But I really liked the Meep. I thought it was brilliant. And as I say, the whole twist was absolutely fantastic as well. Because you don't see it coming. You absolutely, if you haven't read the comic, if you haven't read the story, you don't see it coming. Now, let's go back a little bit to the Doctor's identity crisis. Because Wilf was mentioned. Now, at first he thought Wilf had died and he was very upset. Then they told him he's in a home, right? Thanks to Kate Stewart. He's being very well looked after. Is it possible that the Doctor has come back with this face to say one last goodbye to Wilfred? Could that be the moral of the story? Well, not necessarily, because I'm told there's a really, really big twist about this. But maybe it is that. I don't know. But RTD is absolutely going to explain why Tennant is back as the Doctor. It's a thing, it's a story, but I told you this from when we saw the ending of The Power of the Doctor. I said that probably RTD Ghost wrote The Power of the Doctor, or at least Ghost co-wrote it with Chibnall. And I think some of the things that were set up in that episode may come back to play out in the final episode. I think the final episode is going to be huge. It's going to be climatic. It's going to be like a season finale of one of, RTD's classic season finales of Doctor Who. And it will be interesting to see what Wild Blue Yonder is, because it does look like a really gritty, scary, horror-based episode. And RTD did speak that not all of Doctor Who is for kids and very uncomfortable to watch at times. And I think he may be referring to Wild Blue Yonder. But RTD is literally the perfect person to write for children. All sorts of children, different marginalised backgrounds, different, demos. He's perfect. He knows how to talk to kids via his storytelling, because he doesn't insult their intelligence. He gives them good stuff. And I think as a kid, when I was growing up, I learned from the more complex writing rather than the writing that was very, very simple. Because some people who write for children treat children like idiots. Kids are very, very smart. They may not have learned everything. They may not have lived, but they get things and they know who to trust. That's why they know which adults to trust and which adults not to trust. They're a really good judge of character. And RTD is perfect to educate children. But in the heart of this, you can keep on going on about the message and all of that. I think it was a good message and it was really well done. And by the way, I haven't said it already, Yasmin Finney was a tremendous choice to play Rose. She was brilliant. Also, what I liked about the whole meta-crisis thing, that Donna gave away all that money because she was being influenced by the Doctor's personality because of the meta-crisis. And also, that Rose was being a little bit influenced by the Doctor as well, because she had the meta-crisis in her. Rose having the meta-crisis actually is totally logical. Now, the way they were able to disperse it just because they happened to be women and all they had to do was get over it. Listen, I mean, you can overanalyze that a bit too much. Look, this is why I think that Donna's going to die. I'm not sure if the meta-crisis is truly gone or they're going to find another way of killing her. It's very, very interesting what they're going to do. But as I said on the top of the show, Donna Noble is not safe. And I think she will die. And I also think there's going to be a big twist of how Ncuti, is that not Ncuti? Why did I say you know why I said Ncuti? Because his name's, oh my God, because his name's spelled Ncuti. Ncuti, yeah. I think there's going to be a bit of a twist with how Ncuti becomes the Doctor as well. So I think under RTD again, Doctor Who has a great future. Because there was nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with the RTD era. It was winning awards. it had ratings. Talking about ratings, later on today, we will find out, or maybe on Monday, maybe no, I think it's Monday we'll find out about the ratings. It's going to be very, very interesting who's come in for this as well. Because you would imagine, with David back and Russell back, that the ratings must be really high. I hope. Because what I don't want to do is give the fandom menace the opportunity to crow over low ratings. We will see. But don't you worry. If the American ratings are low, they can take advantage of that. But I think the UK ratings would have been kind of strong. I'm not sure what we're looking at. Could we be looking at the realms of 5-6 million? Anything more than that would be amazing. Maybe a bit lower than that, because things have changed. Now, in the old days, in the early days of iPlayer, everyone watched live basically on a Saturday night before they went down the pub or they went clubbing or whatever they did on a Saturday night. Hopefully, we grabbed audiences before they went out, and I really hope this was successful, because I just had, after the episode finished, all I had for this episode was pure joy. It was everything I want from contemporary Doctor Who. Everything. You know, I had the same feeling I did after I watched RTD's first episode, Rose. I was excited. I was hyperactive. I just wanted to go on the internet. I wanted to go on X and I wanted to go on Instagram, and I congratulated Russell on Instagram. And, you know, I just wanted to talk about it. I was hyper. And I'm so happy that we got this after show again. Something Stephen Moffat took away. He's the one who took away Doctor Who Confidential. Right, and RTD has brought all the things back that these people took away. Saturday night episodes, a Christmas Day episode, everything that he had. Because this is what he wants. He wants Doctor Who to be celebrated. He wants it to be the best it can be. Even if he does something like the whole Davros thing, and if that sends you round the bend, RTD has Doctor Who's best interests at heart. And even though Disney have a bit of a say with their investment, at the end of the day, if it doesn't work for RTD, it ain't going to happen, because that's the reputation he has now. He can do anything he wants, and that's what he's doing. He took a very, very famous comic book story, fan fiction if you like, you know, the Star Beast, and he did something really, really amazing with it. Now, I don't know if it's faithful to that story. From what I'm hearing, it is, but it's a very good story. In a lot of ways, it's a very, very rather simplistic story. Now, don't forget, obviously, there's no Donna, there's no Rose, you know, there's no Sean Temple, or there's no Donna's mum in the comic. They're added to the story, right? But that works as well. I love the mums in Doctor Who, especially Russell's mums in Doctor Who. I love Jackie Tyler. I forgot what I forgot what Donna's mum's called, but she's great as well. She's really such a good actor, such a good characterization as well. Again, something else we missed from Russell. He does the families well. So I'm going to be very interested in the kind of supporting characters around Ruby Sunday, who Mills is playing, of course. I'm very excited to see what they do with that, because Russell always, he does his due diligence with the surrounding family. I'm not sure if she actually has a surrounding family. We know Anita Dobson plays someone very close to Ruby, so that's going to be interesting as well. But this is what RTD did, because when you look at Moffat's companions and Chibnall's companions, the family were either there but not very good, right? So obviously you had Graham, who was basically all the family that Ryan had left, which was cool, I suppose, because they were travelling together. But again, those characterizations weren't done properly. As I say, if you make Bradley Walsh boring and dour, then you must really be bad at your job, or bad at your job in terms of a Doctor Who showrunner, because Chibnall can write good stuff. Let's not get it twisted. I'm not here to shit all over Chris Chibnall, but he failed in a lot of his responsibilities in writing for Doctor Who. Look, I don't expect Moffat or Chibnall to be RTD. Everyone's different. Everyone brings themselves to their storytelling and characterizations. I just prefer what RTD does. He is the Welsh George Lucas. He's taken Doctor Who, an existing property, and put love into it, and inspiration, and romance, and it's that romantic writing. As I say, not in terms of kissy relationships, but it's that adventurous romance that we've seen a lot from David Tennant's Doctor when he was the Doctor full time. And what we saw again, it's brilliant, it works, and it sucks people in. I would think many of us who watched that episode last night were thinking, yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. That works. I'm in love with Doctor Who again. It's exciting. Basically, what we saw last night was a lot of the love and excitement and romance we didn't have under Chibnall and Moffat. You know, RTD is different gravy. I just love the man's writing. There's nothing he's ever written that I didn't like. He's a genius. And the thing is with Russell, he knows he's a genius. He knows that he needed to come back, right? And he was, you know, I think he fell out of love with the job because I think Russell has worked on smaller shows and smaller series. But when you're running Doctor Who, it's a very challenging job. It's a huge job. And I think that was the right time for him to step down. His mistake, he should have had an overviewing kind of eye on Doctor Who. He should have been the one who was overseeing it, so if any problems happened, he could deal with them as well. But he moved totally on. And I think that's been the problem with Doctor Who since RTD completely left. You know, for me, it's 5 out of 5 for the Star Beast. I took a lot out of this episode. And as I say, the storytelling around Rose, around, you know, transgender visibility, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of, I'm not the biggest fan of like representation and inclusion as a concept. But what I do accept as a human being is that the trans community are human beings, that black people, Asian people, different communities are all human beings, and they have the same right to be in entertainment as we do and be reflected in stories as we do. And it shouldn't be a big deal. It shouldn't be representation. It shouldn't be a big headline when there's an Asian person or a black person or a trans person or a gay person in a piece of entertainment. They have the right to be there. But I think the way Russell did it was brilliant. It was a great story. It was well crafted. But the most important thing, it was utterly entertaining on a Saturday night. You enjoyed it. It pulled you in. And it helped that Catherine and David are back as these characters. It was all very, very familiar. I think if you're an existing fan who remembers those days, you would have come back, because a lot of these times when they bring people back and it's just for nostalgia, you think, it's not the same as it used to be. But it was the same. You know, they may look a little bit older, but they're still the same people. It still works because David Tennant loves Doctor Who and Catherine Tate is one hell of a talented lady, whether she's doing her impersonations, her sketches, Nana. I mean, Nana is my favourite character that Catherine does. It's so relatable and real, but yeah, Catherine is such a talented lady and you could see it there again. And it will be very interesting how all this ends. And as I say, I don't think it's going to end very well for Donna Noble. And that's something that's very interesting at the end of this episode when the Doctor explains to Donna in the TARDIS that it really affected him badly when he wiped her memory. Of course, it led to the events of the Waters of Mars, where he went really, really dark. And he was a very different person when he did that. She's saying, just accept that you can have friends. He's kind of accepting what she's saying at the end there, but he's not smiling, right? That tells me that the Doctor is still very, very worried about Donna and knows that all is not well. He knows it shouldn't be possible to regenerate into a former face. The Doctor knows this. When Rose asked him if he could change back to Eccleston, he said, I can't. He knows it's not possible. So something is happening. It's all to do with the Toymaker maybe as well. I mean, we're forgetting we've still got the Toymaker to look forward to. Neil Patrick Harris is going to kill it. He's been killing performances. When I say killing, I mean great performances since he was a young boy playing Doogie Howser. So it's all looking as it's going to be very emotional, very climactic and building up to the reveal of our brand new 15th Doctor, Ncuti Gatwa, and the introduction of Mills as Ruby Sunday. Millie Gibson, of course, sorry. But yeah, she's going to be brilliant. Look, I want the whole world to see how talented Millie is because she really is amazing. So this was my review of The Star Beast. As you've noticed, I didn't recite the whole episode. That's not what I do. I wanted to give you my general feeling for the episode and just delight in Russell T Davies being back and being the genius that I love. I'll see you again soon.